Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining us. I believe we've all taken a brief break, but if you're still wrapping up or getting something, don't be pressured. This is going to be a very relaxed session. We're going to be watching a film, so please relax. Feel free to drop your comments on the chat box as we go along. But the film that we're going to be streaming just a few minutes from now is called The Sides of a Horn. It's the first film to tell the story of Africa's poaching war from both sides of the fence, based on the actual events and filmed in the townships and game reserves that are mostly directly impacted by wildlife crime. So please take a seat back. If you've grabbed a cup of coffee or something,
Kevin's in the east tower. Tango, keep your eyes on the gate. Tango, section 5. I'll have eyes shortly. Can you make sure the electricity is still running for that gate? Yes, sir, on it.
Thanks, brother.
Ah, cheers to me. Go well, Brit.
Ba,
Ba,
njani? Khona unakho ukungasiza ngey'nhlungu nogwaye uthuba.
Aw. Tumi, ke lengwile. Ne ke re lefatshe le go jela. Uyohlala isikhathi.
Eyi, sobona. Ngiyabona.
Sipoza. Kabarai ma. Kuyilo satan.
ngiprenga ne. Usabuya la. Ufisa ukubhoda wena ne. Sibheke yeso. Yeso ntwana. No white friends of yours are here to protect you now.
Awukhalwe, Awusibheke nje. Intombi enamandla. Ngazo-ke intombi yami.
Sekungathi ukunciphisa kwakho ukudla, ukuqinisa kwakho amandla.
Dumi. Jabulela ubona mfowethu.
Unjani yini unana wami? Umalume ukulethele isipho. Yazi yini le? Indlovu. Ya. Igama layo ngu-Isilo. Siqambe igama lomngani wami. Nomama nobaba abamthanda kakhulu njengawe. Indlovu yakho. Okay. Mwa. Unjani siswana? Lindelo. Malindi. Ngikulethele lokho. Kuzokusiza uzizwe ungcono.
Ngiyabonga. Siyakhumbula Ntombi.
Fourteen hours ngelanga ngikapane enkuni. Sandla sami sicwile igazi.
Mkholo wami uyangena ngeviki elizayo. Mhlawumbe uzokwanela ukuthi ngingenise esibhedlela.
Asinalo iviki. Simo sakhe sibheda usuku nosuku.
Uqinile. Kufanele na uqine naye. Kholwa mfethu.
Nkulunkulu baba. Yabonga ukuba nathi kuze kube manje. Cela ugcine umndeni wami. Ugcine unkosikazi wami. Ngipha amandla, ngiphilise. Ube naye kulesikhathini esinzima. Ube nami manje mangiphuma. Egameni likaJesu. Amen.
Ubani?
Usil.
Ukuthi ngisilaye. Ugayithuba besele impimpi yesibalo sakho kuyatheleka la.
Nje.
Phansi man.
Kuyakena ukuthi ngilinde isikhathi esingakanani kule airport ukuthi lapho ejana ufike. Kukhanya inyanga igcwele. Ngikhawathile wena.
Mari bengakeni ukuthi lo muntu uyozwakala. Ngiyafana kazi next. So singabangena.
Ngiyangisavana. For sure uthisana nalamangamla njengalasa sibali sakho ngisomgodoyi.
Then ithi ngene ngibani ke fandatsha mpasi.
Kodwa ukuthi ubani. Ngeke uzundlule ngisho nefence yokucala sana.
Ngiyakwazi ukusingela. Ngikapane enkuni everyday ubetshana ulula.
Uzovaya uyi-1 phambi kwentathakusa ungilethele iphondo lami ngizokugaya ikhaya lakho ungakhathazeki ngosibalo wakho sengimfaka esiporweni lo.
Thula mntanami. Ngeke baphinde bakwazi ukusilimaza. Thula. Kulungile mntanami. Umama nomama sebekhona.
Unjani siswana? Akalimalana?
Cha ulungile.
Umshana wami mina ukuphi?
Si right. Yini ndaba kwenzakalani?
Baphinde bashaya uThandi. Bacela ukuthi bangahlukumeza lo mndeni lona. Mhlawumbe bephinde bengena lapha bathi ngizobafuna.
Bese bakulahlele ejele.
Kufanele ngibavike.
Ngeke kuphela.
Kuzophela uma besejele noma sebefile.
munye umuntu othatha isikhala sabo.
Yini point yakho Silo?
Point yami ukuthi ayikho ipoint. Sister yakho yagula. Mfazi wakho usengozini. Nomntana manje. Osoze baphephe lokhu ubhizi ufikela noBhejani begwili.
Awucabanga ukuthi ngiyawukhathalela umndeni wami? Akusibona uBhejane beyigwili. OBhejane bethu. Yini manje sengathi isiduphuke njengabo bonke labantu?
Mhlamba akunalo education yakho yamangama. Kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi impilo zabantu sibalekile ukudlula impilo zelwane. Labantu bazama ukusiphilisa enoni yababulala.
Cabanga ngiyathanda ukuhloma ikhali. Melani nabafowethu. Labantu batshontshe kumhlaba wethu Silo ukunothisa igelekeqe ezilephesheya. Ngiyaxolisa sithando sami.
Ayikho into ekumele ngixolisele.
Cha. Angisazi manje.
Mina ngiyazi. Eminyakeni ezayo uma indodana yethu isihlele eklasini lami. Ifuna ukufundisa ngendoda eyayinesibindi. Indoda elwela okulungile, ingalwelela namhlanje. Owayengazilweli yena. Elwela ikusasa labo bonke abantwana bakhe.
Simon for Dumi. Dumi coming for Simon. Dumi, do you copy?
Yes, copy.
We've got a breach. Fence security found a hole in the perimeter. I can't get hold of Rayon or anybody. It's your sector. Can you head in now? We'll be there as fast as we can.
Copy.
Got 2 units en route, pal. Stay safe. No chances.
Official. He's watching the rhino. Taking aim. Where are you?
30 minutes out.
He'll be gone by then.
you identify him?
I know the weapon.
You know the rules of engagement. Are you in direct danger?
Wow, I'm sure we're all left in suspense. A lot of questions that perhaps you have. So as AWF, we were able to have a brief discussion with the writer, director, and co-producer, that's
Alors, au
Toby.
niveau de AWF, nous avons pu faire une discussion avec le...
Yes, as I mentioned, we had a brief discussion with the writer, director, and co-producer, that's Toby Wosko, to just get to learn about his inspiration, his idea and vision behind the movie. And unfortunately, he couldn't be able to be with us due to the different time zones, but he sent a pre-recorded video where we'll get to listen what inspired Sides of a Horn, what are the lessons that we hope that the viewers have been able to get. And looking back, did the film actually achieve what it's meant to do? Is it still relevant today in our context right now in 2022? And if yes, what are the current wildlife issues that we're tackling right now? So this will just be a brief pre-recorded video. Like I mentioned at the start, it's a very relaxed session. So please feel free to also answer the questions from the AHA Slides link that has been shared both on Airmeet and Zoom, and we'll be able to collate all of them together.
Hi to everyone at the African Youth Summit on Biodiversity. My name is Toby Wosko, and I'm the writer-director and one of the producers on Sides of the Horn. I hope you enjoyed the movie. I'm grateful to the African Wildlife Foundation, who asked me to speak after the film, and to the summit for inviting us to screen the film. I was asked to answer a few questions, so let's jump right in. The first question is, what inspired Sides of the Horn? So in 2016, I was traveling in South Africa, just vacation adventure, and I was lucky enough to find myself walking through a game reserve in South Africa with an anti-poaching ranger, and we found a rhino, a white rhino, maybe 50, 100 yards away, and it was just a magical, completely surreal scene. This species that's 50 million years old, in this landscape that was completely untouched and almost like a land that time forgot. And that image is something that I'll never forget, and completely changed me and has changed the course of my career and my focus in filmmaking and my life. And then this game ranger that I was with started to tell me about the poaching and how the rhino is veering towards extinction, and the larger $23 billion illegal wildlife trade, and how the demand in Asia is driving the poaching war in South Africa and other parts of the African continent, and the different aspects of it. And then the next day we went into a community that was living on the border of this park, and met with a few people, and one of them was a ranger who came from the community, and started to learn about how a lot of the men and women who become rangers come from this community, but also a lot of the men who become poachers come from this community. And just, as a filmmaker, an artist, a storyteller, that was such a, it just ignited something in me of this question of, how could two people from this community, and also learned that sometimes there's a poacher and a ranger that would come from the same family. How could these two people go in such opposite directions? And so, I came back here and started doing a lot of research and saw a lot about in the media about the larger illegal wildlife trade, and there's some stories about the incredible work that the rangers are doing, but there was nothing really about these communities that live on the border of the parks, and ultimately they are the front lines. If you don't get their buy-in and their support, then we don't stand a chance at saving the rhino or any other species. So that's the story I decided to tell. So the next question is, what are the lessons that you hope that viewers get from it? I hope it opens people's eyes to the nuances and the complexities of the situation. That was the idea, was to do this completely unbiased, not make the ranger the hero and the poacher the antagonist, the bad guy. It was to really just present two human beings that are in their own, dealing with their own unique circumstances, and understand what motivates each of them to be poaching or be protecting the wildlife from the poachers, and by putting you in their shoes and not pushing you to feel a certain way about one or the other and letting you make your own judgments, reveal some of those nuances and complexities, and hopefully create some empathy. And so, yeah, there's a lesson to take away. I think something that really struck me as I started to do some early research for the film was, some people in the conservation world would have the attitude of, let's buy more guns and kill more poachers, or, kill a poacher, save a rhino. And it's so much more complex than that, and it's so much more nuanced. And so I hope this opens more people's eyes to what the situation really is, and create some empathy on both sides. It's about so much more than goodbye, goodbye, bad guy, black and white. It's about so much more than that on a basic human level of healthcare. The reason that the poacher in our story is doing this is to save his sick wife. It's about other options or the lack of other options. If there's no other jobs and you can't put food on the table for your child, or you can't meet basic human needs, then jumping over the fence and killing an animal in order to feed your family and not let your child starve. It doesn't seem like it's something that I think most humans put in that situation would do. It's really, I hope it opens people's eyes to the realities of what's happening on the front lines in those communities that border the national parks. And the film doesn't try to present any solutions. That's not what our job was as the filmmakers. It's to present the realities, and then hopefully there is discussion at this summit and around the world as other people are seeing the film, that can lead to the solutions. And then the next question is, looking back, did the film achieve what it was meant to? Is it still relevant today? And if yes, how is it relevant in the current wildlife issues? Yes, absolutely. We're really, really proud of what the film did and how many people it reached. I don't think when you're setting out to do something like this, you have very ambitious hopes of what it can do, but I don't think one film or one thing can completely fix an issue. I think it's one more brick in the wall of momentum that, if there's enough things or enough people doing the things, then hopefully there's enough momentum built to tip the scales and, in this case, save the rhino from extinction over the next years and decades. And so I'm very proud of our brick that we put in the wall of the momentum towards that change. The film screened all over the world. In Africa with the African Wildlife Foundation, we did a lot of screenings and reached a lot of people. And the U.S. State Department gave us a grant to go to Uganda with a Ugandan conservationist named Shaban Senyange. And we did a whole tour there with the film where we met with local specialists in different areas of conservation and rhino specifically. And, they recently have been rebuilding their population of rhinos that was once extinct, and talked a lot about what's going to happen when those rhinos are taken back into the wild, and how do we not just end up in a situation where they are poached to extinction all over again. And then in Asia, we partnered with WildAid to release the film in China and Vietnam and Thailand. And, in its first week in China, the Discovery Channel posted it and it received over 800,000 views. And who knows if, one person in China saw that and decided to stop using rhino horn, or again, it's just one more brick in the wall of momentum. So very, very proud of and the second part of the question was, is it still relevant today? It's definitely still relevant. The South African government released its statistics on rhino poachings, I think a couple of months ago, and the number of rhino poachings had risen for the first time in 6 years. So, and that's probably COVID did not help, and but it's absolutely still relevant. And on a bigger picture level, it's relevant while we're still, until we realize that any war against nature is a war against ourselves. And this film is symbolic for something much bigger. If we don't, our environment and the species that we share the planet with is everything. And if we don't take care of it, then we're not taking care of ourselves. And it's everything. It's the most important thing we have. And until we start to prioritize it as the most important thing that we have, then this film is going to continue to become more and more relevant. So yes, sadly, it is still relevant, and we're actually working on a feature film now that hopefully we're going to shoot in South Africa next year, that speaks to some of those bigger or wider issues around the very specific story of Sides of the Horn and the people on the front lines in the communities. Our feature film is going to look at the trade and the trafficking and corruption and the conservationists and a lot of the issues surrounding this more specific story. And so again, hopefully that will just be one more brick in the wall of momentum. And so what message would you love to share with the summit as they view and reflect on the film? Since it is a youth summit, I keep coming back to this, but it takes a village. That wall doesn't get built by just a few people or a few projects. It's for something this big and this important, it's going to take thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people around the world adding their bricks to that wall of momentum to tip the scales and save the rhino and other species and ultimately our home, planet Earth. And so, if this film can inspire you to figure out what your brick is going to be and how you're going to add to this momentum and help us tip the scales. If it can do that, that would be absolutely incredible. So thank you so much again. And I hope you enjoyed the film, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the summit, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much for staying with us up to this moment. Like Toby has mentioned, any war against nature is war against ourselves. So we hope the film has sparked some thought-provoking questions, some reflections. So Cedric was asking, he'd like to find out if the movie has been shown to members of the communities and what's the reaction towards that. Like Toby mentioned, this film has been screened to different target audiences, supported by AWF and other partners as well. And from the reviews that we've been getting, there's a mixed reactions towards the film. Some people feel it justifies poaching. Some people feel it's creating awareness. So again, like he mentioned, two different human beings with two different circumstances, of course, people will definitely have a couple of mixed reactions towards that. The second question that Muindi asked on Airmeet is the challenges that Toby faced and what he would like other filmmakers to learn. So this is a question we'll have to revert back to Toby. But at the African Wildlife Foundation, we have a couple of initiatives that are supporting journalists, upcoming photographers and filmmakers, just for them to be able to do their work with less challenges, for example. So we do encourage you to visit our booth to just learn more on what we do with filmmakers, for example. So with that, we'll call it a session. Thank you so much for being with us throughout the first session, the second session. We have one more last session in the afternoon.